Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to 21 Mistakes Real Estate Brokers Make with John Mayfield. My name is Crystal Bise, and I will be helping you along the way through the webinar. And if anyone has any technical difficulties, they can put it in the chat or the Q&A, and either myself or Ethel will try to assist. At this time, I would like to introduce to you our president, Kalama Kim, who will be introducing our guest speaker today.
Hey, I'm Kalama Kim, the 2023 Hawaii Realtors President, and I'm here today to introduce your instructor for your class. Now, let's make sure you're right on the right Zoom link. I know I've done that before, and it's not fun. You're here for the 21 mistakes real estate brokers make and how to avoid them. I'm sure I probably made at least 17 of them, and I can't wait to hear what they are. Your instructor and speaker today is John D. Mayfield, and let me tell you a little bit about him. He received his real estate license in 1970, and here's the cool part, at 18 years old. So this guy's been in it his entire professional life. He is a senior GRI instructor for the Missouri Realtors and teaches for Rebbe. He has been a featured speaker at the National Association of Realtors conventions on several occasions and has taught Technology Resource Center for NAR. He wrote 8 books, including 5 Minutes series for real estate agents. He's also a 2015 graduate of the Realtor University's Masters of Real Estate program. Please welcome John D. Mayfield. In addition to this outstanding course, I want to tell you about 2 other course offerings. So the first is a CRS course. It's creating listing abundance, and we all want listings, especially in this shifted market. If you haven't been paying attention, the market has shifted. So go out, take this course, get some listings. It's February 21st and February 22nd, 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. It's a Zoom course. It costs $125. If you're a member of CRS, it's $150 for guests. We have another course. Well, this is actually more than a course. This is an opportunity to take Zoom classes with Robert Morris and then get your designation, Certified Real Estate Brokerage Manager. We know that's CRB. And so we'll put the information in the link. You get all 3 courses for $550 to be able to complete that. And the link information will have the days and the times. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today on the 21 mistakes real estate brokers make and how to avoid them. Now, I'm going to give a disclaimer right up front that I'm going to go through 7 of the most popular 21 mistakes, but I will introduce you to all 21 mistakes, and I will give you a special link where you can go and watch a video where I cover all 21 mistakes at your own leisure. So again, thanks for joining. My name's John Mayfield, and it's a pleasure to be with you. It's very cool and rainy here in Missouri, but I have my Hawaiian shirt that I bought while I was in Hawaii teaching a CRB class. So thanks again. I appreciate you being here. So I'm going to get us started here, and I want to make sure that you can hear me okay. And if you are having any technical difficulties before we get started, so if you would, just let me know. Otherwise, I think we are good to go. Well, as the introduction mentioned, I got my real estate license in 1978 at the age of 18. Many of you have probably already figured out he's 62 years old. Yes, soon to be 63. I don't feel that old, but it was April the 7th, 2007, when I wanted to quit. That's right. April 7th, 2007, my life was really turned upside down, and I had some crazy things that happened at that time. I don't know if you've ever had one of those times in your life when everything just goes haywire and crazy. But on April 7th, 2007, my life was literally turned upside down. Now, my wife and I had purchased a pick your own blueberry blackberry farm. Yes, we still own the real estate office, but we bought a 90-acre farm, built our dream home, set up on top of a hill, and for miles and miles we could look out and see the most beautiful views. And we had people come from all over Missouri in the Midwest to pick blueberries, and we even shipped blueberries out, and it was really kind of a fun gig. And then on April 7th, 2007, we had a late spring freeze. Well, you might think, well, life goes on, right? The unfortunate part is I had I had sold my real estate company and I went to work for a bank. Now go back with me to 2007, if you would. It's April 7th, 2007. The economy is just starting to take a nosedive. And I sell my company and I go to work for a bank. Well, the bank, lo and behold, is on this thing called a watch list that I didn't know about. The economy's tanking. I go into work one day and the bank examiners are there. By the end of the day, the gentleman who had hired me was terminated, and the bank's not putting a bank in Farmington. And literally, my life was turned upside down because I'm without a job now. I don't have any blueberry or blackberry crop. And I'd sold my office and signed a non-compete clause. I mean, I'd really felt like this person who was defeated from a boxing match, and you know, the walls are just caving in on me. And at that time, I literally didn't really know what to do. So here I am, unemployed, no crop. I'm $1 million in debt, and I have no job. So my wife and I just had to start over. Well, it was during that time I was driving to a Missouri Realtors meeting. It was a strategic planning session. It was at Lake of the Ozarks. And I love to write. I'd written several books on real estate, and I wanted to write a new book. And so I just sold my office. I'm going through all this stuff, and I'm driving to Lake of the Ozarks, and I said to myself, I wonder if I could write a book about starting my real estate office over again. I missed my real estate company. And there was a book out called 21 Things I Wish My Real Estate Broker Had Told Me Before I Got My Real Estate License. You may have it or seen it. It's through Dearborn Publishing, very successful book. And I said to myself, I think I'll write a book, 21 Things I'll Do Differently the next time I open a real estate office. Well, I pitched it to a publisher. They loved the title, and they wanted me to change the title to 21 Mistakes Real Estate Brokers Make and How to Avoid Them. So lo and behold, I wrote a book, and I brought in a co-author friend of mine, Corky Hyatt, because I didn't want the perspective to just be mine. I wanted someone who was a coach and worked with a lot of real estate brokerages to help me, and that I could bounce some ideas off of. And so Corky and I wrote the book, 21 Mistakes Real Estate Brokers Make and How to Avoid Them. And that's what I want to share with you today. So I want to get into the first mistake. And literally, this is the first mistake that I thought of. I mean, I'm driving to Lake of the Ozarks, and I think of this idea for a book, and I'm like, okay, what would I do differently the next time I open a real estate office? And I had to tell myself I would make sure I had good quality people on the team. Now, please don't think I'm wanting you to go out and fire everybody on your team, okay? But what I want you to think about is this. Sometimes we have some people that are not the right people on our team. I read this book from John Maxwell that was at one time, and John said, "We're only as strong as our weakest link." And then I read this book by Jim Collins called Good to Great. I don't know if you've ever read the book. It's a great book. He's even has an updated version out. And in Good to Great, Jim Collins studied businesses that had been around for a long time, since the early 1900s, and he really wanted to know what makes some companies good and what makes some companies great. Think about that. What makes some companies good companies, but what makes some companies great companies? Jim had a lot of criteria that he put on these companies, and he looked at hundreds of companies that had started in the 1900s that were still around today, Walgreens, many of the JCPenney, many of the companies at that time. And Jim put a criteria, and in order for them to really go over to the great criteria, they had to meet all of these different thresholds. Well, Jim then wanted to dive into these great companies and find out what made them a great company. Well, one of the things Jim found out is that you had to put the right people on the bus, and you had to put them in the right seats. You know, many of us, unfortunately, don't have the right people in the right seats on the bus. And I put this slide up here because, you know, what I had to remind myself, and this is still challenging for me today, is that it's my boat. It's your boat as the broker. And you're the one that's driving the ship. Sometimes I'll be honest with you, and I'm just telling you my mistakes, and I want this to be a very conversational time. I don't want to pick on anybody. I want you to think about your own business and your own brokerage. But for me, I really had to remind myself that I had people on the bus that really shouldn't have been on the bus. And it's our boat. We've got to surround ourselves with good quality people. Now, I believe, and I want to double check before we go further, because I want to very quickly, I think that there are a few slides I added, and that'll be okay, that are not there. So no big deal. We'll just keep kind of going along. But let me do this. If we could, let's see. I'd love for you to respond to me. What do you think some of the issues are today with our offices, and maybe with you know, when we talk about good quality people on the bus, what are some issues today that maybe you're seeing that we could change? And so I want to go to there we go. Okay, so who wants to, when we talk about good quality people and putting the wrong people on the bus, who would like to comment or just add some suggestions? I want this to be very interactive, and if you'll just write those in the chat, we can put those on the board, or if you want to be unmuted, you could raise your hand, and Crystal or Ethel will unmute you, and just kind of tell me, why is that challenging for us to put the right people on the bus? Anybody want to comment? You can use the chat, or Patrick raised their hand. So Patrick, if we could unmute Patrick, I'd love to hear your response. Okay, and I saw one that came in. That's a great suggestion, but sometimes we're trying to help a friend or a family member. Man.
I've unmuted Patrick.
Okay,
Patrick,
Patrick, great. Thank you. Patrick, go ahead.
you're gonna have to unmute yourself, Patrick.
Go ahead, Patrick. Can you hear us? And we'll give him a second. That's okay. Thank you.
John, here's one. We don't ask the right questions to ensure who we are bringing on to the bus, align with our vision.
I
and
love
the
that.
direction.
Thank you, Chad. And Kristen, thank you as well for this. So we don't ask the right questions. Absolutely. You know, that's so important. We've got to be able to ask the right questions. Excellent. Good. Thank you so much for that. Anybody else? And if Patrick, if you can hear us and your mic's working, go ahead and jump in.
Oh,
No problem, Patrick said that was a mistake. So thank you for that. I just wanted to make this, again, I want to make this a little interactive as we can, and you can drop some more items in there. But, you know, failing to surround yourself with good quality people is so important. And as I mentioned, and Kristen and Chad both, I've been in both those situations. Sometimes I'm trying to help out a family member or a friend, and then I know it's not going to end well, but at the end of the day, it's our ship and we're navigating that ship, and we've got to be able to put the right people in the right seats on the bus. So thank you for that. We're going to get back over to the PowerPoint, and I'll just come back over here. All right. So number one, first mistake, got to surround yourself with good quality people. And I have to tell you, when I do this as a live workshop, that is one of the main things that I hear over and over from the brokers and managers who are in attendance, and team leaders as well. The second mistake that Corky and I came up with, and actually we put this as the first mistake in the book. The second mistake we added in the book was failing to surround yourself with good quality people. But Corky felt this should be in the number one slot, and I totally agree with her, is the failure to be the architect of your attitude. You know, going back to my Blueberry days, and I did another webinar for Hawaii in the last year or so, and some of you may have seen some of these slides and have heard my story, and I apologize if you have, but going back to my Blueberry fiasco and my Blueberry days, I felt like a big failure. I really did. And at that time in my life, I was always feeling lack. I mean, I would look at my wallet and I saw no money. And I knew that I had to change my attitude. And a lot of times as brokers, we really have to be the architect of our attitude. We have to get rid of failure, and we have to start seeing success. And we have to remind ourselves that we have to be willing to change. We can't be doing the same old things and expect different results. If we're doing the same stuff, we're going to have the same results. And so I knew back when I was trying to regroup and rechange my direction in 2007 that I had to get rid of the I can't do it attitude. I literally had to go back and change my attitude. Now, I want to tell you right now, I'm running an online real estate school. First and foremost, I want you to know I lost everything I had in 2008. I literally had to make arrangements with the bank. They actually bought the property back from me because they didn't want a lawsuit. And I didn't want to go through a foreclosure. And so they made a severance package to basically pay off my mortgage and allow me to go my way. And my wife and I sold everything we had and we started over. I remember selling stuff. And I remember one time being on a Sunday night and some people came and bought a bunch of stuff. And I just remember breaking down and crying on our blueberry farm, and we're trying to start over. And I thought to myself, John Mayfield, it's just stuff. And so I had to reprogram my mind and start over. So today I'm running an online real estate school in a number of states. I'm still a real estate broker. I still work with buyers and sellers. I'm still in the trenches and do a lot of speaking and training. And I've been very blessed. But what I want you to know is this: I still get that same fear. I have 3 employees with my school. And every night you turn the news on, which I try not to watch, they're talking gloom and doom in the real estate business. Well, I want you to know, a lot of times I keep thinking to myself, I can't have 3 employees. The economy's crashing. And I immediately have to change my attitude and say, why can't I have 3 employees? I can. And so we've got to change that attitude. And for me, back at that time in my life, I had a lot of weeds in my garden that I had to get rid of. I mean, I had to reprogram my thinking, and I had to quit looking at my real estate office or company as being a lack and empty. And you have to start reprogramming your mind and saying, wait a minute, my basket is full. My real estate office is doing great. So how did I do that? I had to start listening to motivational tapes. I got my dad's old Zig Ziglar cassettes out, and I was finding cassette players to listen to those on, and I shut out the news. And I want you to know, I started thinking more prosperity instead of lack. And it's a struggle because we have this rope and this tension that's trying to say, no, you can't. And we're taught this maybe from as a little child. And sometimes you get to a point where you just want to say, I give in. I don't think I can make it, but you can't. You got to have the right attitude. And I'm telling you what, listening to podcasts, listening to books, they can change your attitude, and you have to push through that. And so one of the things I had to do back in 2007 and 8, when I reopened my real estate office, was I had to really pull back the negative and think about the positive. And one way I did that was through positive words. I listened to a gentleman just this week who was talking about how powerful words are. And he asked the question, are we speaking negative words or are we speaking positive words? And we have to be very careful. So again, I started listening to audiobooks, and I'll make this PowerPoint available for you so you can look at all of these various books. But this was the first book I actually downloaded. And it looks kind of goofy, called How to Attract Money by Joseph Murphy. But I'm telling you what, he started telling me how to change my mind. And one of those ways was through affirmations. I just shared some of these books here. But for me, I had to start reminding myself that my basket was not empty, that it was full. Every day in every way, I'm growing more and more financially prosperous. I quote that every day. I have a large, steady, dependable, permanent financial income now. And I get it. I want you to know firsthand, I thought a lot of this stuff was goofy, but it actually has changed my life. If I had never started using those affirmations, if I'd never started writing some of the goals down and other things I'm going to change you for that mind shift, I would have still stayed in that rut. But it was reprogramming my mind to say, John, you are successful. Your real estate office is successful and you can do very well. So I just want to remind you that you can use your phone and put those notes in there, but read these every day. Words have so much power and they can change your life. And I just want to remind you that when we think it's impossible, it is possible. But it all starts with our mind. And for me, it was just a matter of reading and listening to a lot of positive books that helped change that. And through all of that road of perseverance and distraction and people calling me, wanting to know when I was going to pay them back, which I did pay everyone back, there was some challenges and struggle. Now, I'm telling you all of this because as a real estate broker, I get it. I've been there and I'm still there. Sometimes things, sometimes it's not always a pleasant scene, right? We wish that we just had this abundance of deals closing all the time and life was perfect, but it's not. And we've got to remind ourselves that we have to have an attitude. We are the architect of our attitude. And so have a vision. That's part of that. Create a vision board. I mean, all of these things can help shift your mind to where you'll have a better attitude. So that's the second mistake I wanted to share with you. And I really believe it's so important that we change our attitude. Anybody want to add anything to that? I'd love to just take some of your questions and we'll talk about what your thoughts are on that. But I'm here to tell you, I wish going back, if I had anything to do different over again, it would have been to watch the words I speak, to have had some positive affirmations about my real estate company back then, and to have really to just changed my whole attitude. Sometimes we can let all of that stuff kind of drag us in and put us down. Anybody want to add any questions to that? If you want to unmute, you can raise your hand. We can unmute your mic. What are your thoughts? Or anybody want to validate on using affirmations if they've helped you? I'm looking over here. Someone said chat is disabled, but so we'll keep going along. No other, if you have those, drop those in. We'll be glad to.
John, somebody said you start every day with a prayer.
Yeah, start every, okay, because there we go. Thank you, Gina. You know what? That is so true. And so, gratitude, prayer, every day, my team, today we didn't, and we normally do. I had a lot going on, but normally we start every day with a prayer. And thank you, Gina. I think that's excellent advice there.
I have
If you say
Conrad
you can't-
Molina. Conrad is raising his hand, and so we
Good.
enabled him to speak. Conrad,
Great,
if you
good.
want to go and unmute yourself. Oh, I think he took his hand down. Maybe.
Okay,
And
no problem.
if Conrad does it, I also have Elizabeth Karimoto. So
Okay.
I've enabled Elizabeth to speak. Elizabeth, you
Yeah.
want to unmute yourself? Go ahead and speak.
No, sorry, that was a mistake.
Oh, okay.
That's all
Okay,
right.
no problem.
And while Conrad's got his hand back up, but Kristen says, if you say you can't, you are absolutely correct. And thank you, Kristen. Recently, the same guy that I was listening to talked about words have power. He said something that was so impactful. He said, we will never raise above the level of where we see ourselves. And I think that this ties along with what you said, Kristen. Conrad, are you unmuted now, or do you?
I am unmuted, but I made a mistake. What I was trying to tell you is concur that your chat has been down from the beginning. So that's why everybody's going to raise hands and Q&A. So your chat only is outgoing, not incoming.
Okay.
But I believe starting off with a smile is the way to start your day.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, I guess the chat is disabled, but you can go into the Q&A. So maybe that's where you would want to type that in.
Thank
if you
you.
want to
I'll
type in
look.
the Q&A. Thank you so much, Conrad. Yeah, start every day with a smile. I love that. And then I saw Camellia said, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, I really like to listen to a great real estate related podcast like Buffini or Ninja. And I absolutely agree with you. Those help me out a lot. So, well, thank you for sharing those with you. But, you know, as brokers, we have to be the architect of our attitude, and our attitude will then filter over to the agents inside of our office. Now, the third mistake is failure to run your business like a business. I know it's right before lunch there, but I love to tell this story about this little sandwich shop that opened up in my area. It was a Philly cheesesteak sandwich shop. My wife and I decided to go out there. I had seen the ribbon cutting in the newspaper, and I thought, oh my gosh, I love Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. We've got to go out and visit this place. And when I looked at the address, I thought to myself, it's kind of a odd location, but anyway, we went out there to have a Philly cheesesteak sandwich not long after they opened. It was right around lunchtime. My wife and I go in, very cute little building. They had all new equipment. They had new tables and chairs. It was a husband and wife. They were so friendly and kind. They were so excited to see my wife and I come in because we were the only people in the restaurant. And so we go and we order, and they're so nice, and we get the Philly cheesesteak sandwich. I'll put that back up so you can see that. And it was actually a very good sandwich. That's not the Philly cheesesteak sandwich. That's one I downloaded off the internet. But my wife and I have this sandwich, and my wife asked me the question. She said, do you think they'll make it? There was nobody else in this sandwich shop, and it's 12 noon, and it's a weekday. And here they have invested lots of money for all kinds of new equipment, new tables and chairs. It was decorated cute. It was clean. You couldn't have asked for all of the nice things you'd want in a sandwich shop. And my wife asked me that question, do you think they'll make it? And I said to her, I wonder if they've ever done a business plan. I mean, have they ever really figured out how many sandwiches do we have to sell every day just to break even? This is from the National Association of Realtors. It's the profile of what agents make. It's actually decreased in the latest report that I had, and it's been going the wrong way. And I think it's because agents have no business plan. Now, I'm picking on real estate agents here, but as brokerages, I want to ask you, do you have a business plan? I mean, when I talk to agents about this, I really give them the amount of money they need to make per month to pay all their bills. And I ask them what the average sales price in their area is and how much they will get per side. And so, you know, we come up with this number of how many transactions they need to close each and every month just to break even. But how many of them actually do that? And then once we have that, we can reverse engineer and go back and say, well, if I have to do 150 contacts a month and I work 22 days, I've got to get out and make 6.81 contacts a day, because for every 30 people you meet, you'll have 5 warm, 5 of those will be warm, 1 will buy, 10 will be warm, and 1 will buy. And so do they have a business plan? And I have a spreadsheet, and I'll be glad to share that if anyone's interested, where you can plug this in and it just puts your sales price for your area and your commission split, and it will actually walk you through calculating how much you have. And when I have an online, and I'm not here to sell anything, but I have an online program that I I run my online real estate school, and I don't want people to just get their license. I want them to be successful. That's my mission. And so I'm trying to help my new agents who are coming out of my school with some free resources. And I actually shot this video here. And my question to them, or my statement to them, is, look, Starbucks knows how many coffees they have to sell every day to break even. That little Philly cheesesteak sandwich shop I told you about, did they ever figure out all of their expenses, all of their overhead, and added a profit and added their taxes and added a vacation, and then said, oh my gosh, we have to sell 70 sandwiches a day just to break even, or we have to sell 350 sandwiches a day just to break even? How are we going to do that? And I'm just here to tell you, that was one of the things with my real estate office that I was good at, but I kind of kept most of it up here in my head. But when my wife and I were faced with that challenge, I had to put it on paper, because I wanted to figure out, how much money do I have to make every month just to pay my bills? And when I came up with that number, my wife said, how are we going to do that? And I said, I don't know, but we're going to have to figure out some way, because that's what we have to do. But it gave me more of a vision. It gave me more of a plan, so that I knew what I had to do to survive. But I think sometimes there are a lot of us that are in business, and we're not running our business like a business. And having a budget, understanding that we have to live within that budget, those are key critical components that we have to think about. So moving on, I want to kind of pick up the speed a little bit, because we're going to kind of get into a couple of items I'm going to need your help with. But the fourth item from the book, I guess I should hold the book up too. But the fourth item from the book, and again, there's 21, I'll give you all 21 of these, but the fourth item is failure to recruit consistently or regularly. Why is that? Now, first and foremost, I am going to show you some videos, and I'm going to talk you through these videos. And I want you, if you know these brokers, do not call them today. And there's nobody from Hawaii that I'm showing you, okay? But I'm going to show you some videos, and I want to walk you through what I think is a huge problem today for brokerages and your website. In fact, I'm creating a brand new keynote presentation, and I'm going to give you the Southern Baptist version of it, because I told my wife this. I said, it's appalling what I'm seeing out there. And so the title of the presentation is, your website stinks, get over it. Here's how you need to make your website work. All right. Now, why am I telling you this? And it's in my book from a few years ago, but I've launched a new product, and I'm not here to sell any products, so I don't want you to think that one way or the other. I do have the books available if you want to. I'll give you that information at the end, but I'm not here to sell any products. I just want you to know I launched a new product, and my team and myself are code calling business to business people, that brokers on the mainland, that we are trying to get them interested in our product that we think could help them with recruiting. Okay, so I want to just give that disclaimer. So we're code calling. We're going out to zip codes, and we're looking at brokerages. We have a very specific niche that we're looking for, that we can help. Okay, and so first thing we do is we go and look up the broker. So I want you to know how this all came about. So I'm going to these brokerage websites, and I want to know how many agents are on your team, what's your website look like, and then I want to know, are you recruiting? So I look for something that says join our team. Okay, and I have not found one website, and I've been to hundreds. All right, that is doing this correctly. So I'm going to give you something that I think will be very powerful today and be well worth being on the call. So let's go through this. And again, please don't think I'm trying to call people out or pick on people. I just want to walk you through these websites. Now, it's important for us to recruit agents. I had a gentleman tell me when I first got my real estate license as a salesperson, listing is existing. And I believe that's true for us as brokers. We have to be prospecting and we have to be planting seeds. And if we're not doing that, we're not going to grow as a brokerage. Okay. So I want you to think in your recruiting and your website as a funnel, and companies are not doing this correctly. And I want to show you a couple of these. So this is a friend of mine in St. Louis. And by the way, I've already sat down with her. She sends a lot of people to my website. Very great broker. They're the #1 broker in St. Louis. They do a great job. They have a career button, which is good. But when you want to select a career in real estate, there's not really a lot of choices. So you can contact the recruiter, you can learn more. So let's just say you're a consumer and you want to contact the recruiter. Well, do you really want to fill out that information? Maybe not. So it opened a new tab. So I'm going to close it. And now I'm going to click Learn More, which opens another new tab. And now I'm going down and it's giving me pre-license or continuing education. Well, I don't even know what continuing education if I'm a consumer on your website. So now I'm scrolling down through more information and okay, I'll register for the online courses. And so it takes you over to my website right there. Now let's think about that for just a second, okay? Suppose, and this is what I told my friend, I sat in a conference room with her and her #2 person, and I showed her that, and she was pretty much like, oh my gosh, we got to fix this. And I said, yeah, we need to fix it. Because I told her, I said, what if that person comes to my online school, gets their real estate license, while they're in school, someone says, oh, you should go work for Acme Real Estate, not her company. And they go work for Acme Real Estate, become a real estate rock star, and sell millions of dollars. But where did that lead originate from? It came from her website. But unfortunately, she didn't capture that lead. So let's go to the next video. And again, I'm not picking on anybody. This is a company out in Virginia. You go to their website, you click on Learn More. Well, they're telling me they got some cool stuff and they've got some core values. And yeah, they're doing some training, and let's join the team. And so now I go down and I'm looking at their amazing office and their happy agents, and you can message them. And I want you to know, when I tried to use that button and that email link to say, could you contact me? I'd love to talk to you about my program. The link didn't work. In fact, there were several other links on their website that didn't work. Now, again, I just want you to know, it's not just those 2 brokerages. I'm seeing it over and over. Maybe one more we can go to here. And I love Gary Keller. Gary's a great guy. I'd love to meet him someday. Gary really should probably have me. I'm not saying that in a mean way, but I want you to know this. I never could get to a spot. I never could. I tried and tried and tried. Now, maybe some of the other Keller Williams offices, and again, I'm not picking on Keller Williams. I'm not picking on Berkshire Hathaway. I'm just saying we're not doing it correctly. And there is a better way that we can do that. So I could go on, but what I want you to think about is this. If there are consumers on your website, why not have a lead magnet set up for consumers, get them interested, communicate with them, and convert? Now, let me show you. I added this to my school website. It's really just a free ebook. Success tips for passing the real estate exam and generate income your first 90 days. Now, here's how this came about. My wife and I are listening to an audio book by Dan Kennedy. Dan's has some great audio books, and he's talking about businesses don't understand the value of their email list, and they don't understand the importance it is to build an email list, to build your CRM, your database. And my wife said, are we corresponding with our students like he's talking about? And I'm going to be very honest with you. And I said, no. She said, well, we need to be doing that. I said, I know. I went back that was on a Sunday. That week, I went through, worked in my database, sent out an email newsletter to my agents, and tried to provide good practical information, reminded them we have a school in Florida and we have CE. We sold classes like you couldn't believe through that newsletter. Then I decided to add that free ebook download to my website. Now I'm just going to show you, and I'm not saying this to brag, but the other thing I'm trying to do is, I used to tell people, oh, our school has video and audio. It's very interactive. It's different than other schools. It's not just point and click. And so I'm hearing all these people and they're like, you know what people want today? They want a different job. They want a life they can be proud of. So I created a lead magnet. I created a landing page, which has, this is all on the same page. And when a person gives me their information, they now go into a sales funnel. And I just started this since October 1st. So you can see through yesterday, I've had 127 people go into my email list, and I've converted 17 of those people into the class. And even if they don't convert, they're in my funnel and they're going to be hearing from me over and over and over again. You know, we're not running our businesses like a business if we're not recruiting. And I just ask you, do you have a recruiting plan? And if you get anything from this today, I want you to just look at your website and say, we got to blow that up and we got to reconstruct it and figure out how can we begin capturing leads. It's so important and it's so valuable. And I just want you to know, those 124 people, and 3 of those were me. So, you know, we have to readjust the ratios. So we've had 120 and converted 17 because I was doing some testing and I wanted to see what the emails look like. But here's what I want you to know. Those 124 people could have left Global Real Estate School, gone to another real estate school website and signed up through them. And I would have lost those. So I just ask you, how many people are on your website and are you losing? I mean, recruiting is the lifeblood of our organization, and there's money out there by recruiting, but unfortunately, many of us fail to recruit regularly. So many of you know me. Crystal knows me. And the last thing I want to do is pick on people or pick on companies. I just want to, you know, I want to say to some of these brokers, and I sat down with my friend and I said, we've got to fix this. You've got a hole in your bucket, and I want to help you fix it, because she sends a lot of people to my real estate school, but I don't want to see them having to click through 4 or 5 or 6 different clicks to get there. And by the way, I have lots of ideas on how you can create a lead magnet. There is no charge. If you ever want to visit with me and just get some ideas, please know I wouldn't charge you for that. I mean, if we need to go further, we can always talk about that. But I mean, heck, you can do this stuff yourself, and I can give you ideas and point you down the road. But your website can be attracting more people. Now, think about that, just a side note on a lead magnet. How many of you have a lead magnet on your website for how to invest in Hawaii, or how investing in Hawaii is different than the mainland, or renting property and being a mainland owner? I mean, there's lots of things for 10 things you should know about before you purchase in Hawaii, 10 things you need to know about owning a condo in Hawaii, or how leasehold and fee. There are lead magnets you could create that could really help you generate more email addresses and more names and convert more clients and customers. So again, number 4, failure to recruit regularly. Now, number 5 is the failure to create written and utilize written job descriptions. And I know we only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to pick the pace up here a little bit, but agents are really lost. And one of the things that I goofed up on is I really didn't let people know from the get-go when they came into work that, look, you need to have a blog. You need to be on the phone calling people. You need to be sending notes, and you need to be prospecting and doing research. I mean, I created some scorecards and some checklists, but at the end of the day, a lot of agents just don't know what to do. I have a podcast with my global real estate school, and occasionally I'll have guest speakers on there who will help agents, because I want my agents not only to listen to the podcast to pass the exam, but I want them to also listen to the podcast to get ideas. And I had a lady on recently, and she said a lot of agents just don't know what to do. So, help them have a game plan. Some of them, and as I look at some of these websites, some of them have no photos, have no information on their, and have their base halfway cut out. I mean, there are so many things we can help our agents with to work smarter. And again, it gets back to helping them, putting those right people on the bus and leading our ship the way it needs to be. So have and create written job descriptions. And number 6 is the failure to delegate authority. This was probably one of the biggest things that I should have done and I didn't do. And because of that, I got burned out. But I just wanted to ask you all some questions. Why do you think it's so hard for us to delegate authority? Anybody want to add anything to that? Anybody want to, and I'll be glad to share the resources. Yes, that sheet. Anybody want to raise their hand? Why is it hard to delegate things? I mean, I know why it was hard for me, but I'm just curious. Liability, yeah, that's a big deal. Perhaps we think we can do it better. Gina, that's exactly what I did a lot. Trusting, absolutely. Those are great feedbacks. So yeah, absolutely. We've got to do a better job. So thank you for those. And what are some best practices for delegating? Anybody want to share anything there? Just wanted to have you provide some input. Any best practices for delegating? I don't see any coming through. But really, I think some of the best practices is, my problem was, Gina, just what you said. I always thought I could do it better. But, set clear expectations, round robin. Yeah, all of those would be very good. I think we have to be better at delegating. If not, we are going to just wear ourselves out. So, have some written job descriptions. When I had this lady on who was a great speaker and a great trainer and a coach, she said, John, a lot of times it's not that agents are lazy, it's just they don't know what to do. And so we really have to think about how can we help them and be concise. So failure to delegate. So the 7th mistake, and we'll kind of wrap up here, is the failure to take time off. I didn't take time off, and I came to the end of my rope on April the 7th, 2007, when I lost my blueberry crop, and we were $1 million in debt, and all of that stuff started crashing in on me. And I got to tell you what, I think it's because I was just burned out. Had I taken more time off, I think I could have gotten back into the game. Had I delegated some responsibilities to some other people and trained some other people, I think that would have helped me stay in the game a little bit longer. So, where do you start? I just want to ask you that question. We have lots of mistakes. And by the way, I'll give you the link here so you can get access to all 21 mistakes. But where do we go from here? Where do we start? I think we have to start with a lot of optimism. We've got to start with some goals. And I think you need to set some goals for 2023. I know there's a lot of negativity out there, but I just want you to say, what can I do for my office? Where can we go? My team and I have some goals. We have a goal that we want to accomplish, and we've set those goals. But I want to go back to you with me in 2007. And I tell this story because here I am, unemployed, non-compete clause, the economy's tanking, and I had to start over. And I'm doing a presentation in California in front of about 700 people. I'm talking about technology, which I love to talk about. I felt like I was a speaker who was telling jokes, and everybody was, didn't get the jokes, and they were just not laughing. And when I finished the presentation, I had this gentleman come up and ask me if I would come to France to speak. And I thought, my gosh, I didn't think anybody liked me. And I had people standing up in the room, and they were all coming back to wanted to talk to me. And so I ended up making friends with this gentleman from France, and went to France and spoke. And he and I became friends, and he invited my wife and I to come and live in France, to work there. Now, you got to go back and remember, it's 2008. I sold my farm, moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in LA, Lower Arnold, Missouri. That gets a great laugh in St. Louis. And my friend and I he becomes a friend of mine. He invites my wife and I to come, and my wife and I are like, what else are we doing? So we moved to France, and that is an actual picture I took on my camera from our apartment in the south of France. Now, I'm not telling you that story to brag, but I'm telling you this. I'm reading this book that same morning in France by Marcus Bach, and I read this quote, and it says, the goals you find on the way to the goal you want may be more precious than the goal you seek. And it taught me a lot about gratitude, practicing gratitude. It was so important. And I know that's very, very special to all of you in Hawaii. And I have this little app on my phone called the 5-Minute Journal. And every day I try to put things in that I'm grateful for. And I try to have this time of being grateful. And what I want you to understand is, don't give up. We all make mistakes. And again, there's 21, and we've gone over 7 of those today. But there's hope. I had made a lot of mistakes. I sold my company because I was burned out, because I felt like I was paying out all of these high commissions to everybody. And at the end of the day, I would just sit there and say, gosh, I'm putting all this hard work in. Is it really worth it? And you know what? It was worth it. And I did start to see some light at the end of the tunnel, but I had to change my attitude. I had to start running my business like a business. I mean, I had to look at some of the hard mistakes I was making and really tell myself, John, you've got to dream bigger. You've got to think bigger. And when you do that, trust me, there is a promised land at the end. I want you to know with all of my heart, it took me 7 years to pay everybody back. And I still remember going in the bank one day, and the bank president came out, and I thought, oh gosh, I paid you guys back. What's he coming out to talk to me about? And he said, I want to just pull you over to the side. And I said, how is there anything wrong, Dennis? And he said, no, nothing's wrong. He said, John, I just want you to know one thing. We had a lot of our customers who couldn't pay their mortgage payments. But he said, you always came in and brought us some money. You always communicated with us. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you doing that. And that meant so much to me, knowing that the bank president noticed that. But we all fail. We all have those times in our life, but we can get over that and we can move forward. So I hope that I've been a little encouraged. I wanted to bring this message of encouragement. Some of you may have seen some of this before because I talked about a little bit of this on a previous webinar. But when I talk about really going to the next level, whether you're an agent or a company, I really do believe that you have to change your attitude. You have to run your business like a business. There's just some things you have to do. Now, in the book, at this QR code, you can buy the book if you want to. When you go out to that website, bookmark it, because right now below where you don't have to buy the book, but right below there, I will have a video posted there within the next 24 hours of the complete 21 mistakes real estate brokers make and how to avoid them, a PowerPoint presentation that I will go through with you. Okay. But I wanted to go through 7 of those with you today. And then if you'd like to buy the book, that includes shipping, and I'll send that to you. I'll sign it and send it to you. It's not available on Amazon anymore. It's sold out there, but I was able to buy a couple of cases of the books. And so I've got a handful I can sell to you, but I should have enough for anybody that would want one on this call. But I will also put that link or embed that video so you can go watch the other 21 presentations. So any questions that you might have, thank you for allowing me to do the webinar, but any questions you might have, I'll be glad to answer those. And if you want me to read the other 21 mistakes very quick, I can do that as well. So we have any questions, or you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, I'd be glad to answer that. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate the kind comments there. There's so many of these here, and usually when I do this in person, so Carolyn says, any recommendations for a CRM or advertising exposure places for websites? Absolutely. I use a CRM called Keep that integrates with landing pages and funnels and allows you to follow up. And they've got a couple of different programs, and I don't make any money off of Keep. They have an affiliate program, but I'm not a part of that. But yeah, Carolyn, I'd be glad to shoot me an email. We could visit more and I could share that with you and how I'm utilizing that. So I'd be happy to do that. Oh, yes, I can do the QR code again. I'll put that back up so you can see that.
John, I'm not sure, but I saw that Kelly had raised her hand and I enabled her to speak. So Kelly, if you want to go ahead and say a few
Is that
words.
my friend Kelly?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
John, thank you so much. I was having an emotional reaction almost because we bought our company right before the market crashed. My 2 partners and I, and we were devastated isn't even the word. So we survived as well. And it was not easy, but it did require extreme, we got professional help for business planning and worked through that. And I just want to thank you for bringing this to our attention, because we are in a different market again, and we have to keep our heads up and know that we survive these things. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Kelly, for that. I appreciate that. And I appreciate your friendship so much. We follow each other on Facebook and Instagram, and I always enjoy your posts and think, gosh, I wish I could live in Hawaii. So, but you're right. this is kind of a tough subject because I don't want people to think I'm beating you up and saying you're doing it all wrong. I did a lot of stuff wrong. I was just sitting in my truck, and then Corky and I started going through this, and just some things like failing to go back to the basics. That's just exactly what, Kelly, I think you were talking about. I talked to a coach the other day who coaches a lot of agents, and they said they have a lot of agents who are newer agents coming in. They don't know how to prospect. I mean, this coach says, I'm having to take them back to the basics, communicating with your agents and staff regularly, regular job performance. With one of my team members this week, I had to sit down with them and we had to have a job evaluation, and they do such a great work, but I had to let them know some things I wish we could improve on. And those are tough talks and tough challenges, but it's all about putting the right people on the bus and surrounding yourself with good quality people. And hey, you know what? If Corky, who's my co-author, she used to say in this real Southern accent, I don't care how long and how far you've been driving down the road. If you're going the wrong way, turn around and go back, So you're right. We have to do a lot of that. But thank you, Kelly.
John, I
And,
have Joni Shiraishi who had her hand raised.
Yeah.
Joni, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Hi, Joni. Or Johnny, I maybe pronounced it incorrectly.
I believe it's Joni. Maybe
Joni.
not. Maybe it was a mistake. Okay.
It's like an auction, sold to the number 14, right? So, but
It's okay.
I just want folks to know, and I'll put that back up. Anytime you can contact me through, I believe through this website, and I also have my email address. You could send it to John at Global Real Estate School, but that'll get to me as well. But would love to help any of you in any way. I'm from the school that when you give, you always receive. Sometimes my agents used to say to me, why are you sharing all of our secrets and helping people? And it's like, you know what? I don't mind helping other people. Whenever you help someone else out, it always comes back. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always here to help you out. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And
I have Joni raising her hand one more
go
time.
right ahead.
Joni, are you ready this time? You want to unmute yourself and ask your question or make your statement? I guess maybe not. Oh, there she is.
That was actually a mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So,
It's okay.
all right. Well, I'm telling you what, you have great folks in your hands. Crystal, who has been nothing but the best of the best when I've worked with educational folks around the country. Although I think you have a new title now, but Ethel, they've been so good to work with. And so let's give them all a virtual hand clap. And
Thank you.
so,
Thank you. And
anyway.
everybody give John a big hand. Hey, before you folks leave, I did want to share with you our next free webinar coming up. And let me share my screen here. And our next free webinar is not only for PBBICs, but for everyone. So go ahead and let your agents know as well. I just dropped the registration link in the chat room, so you can go ahead and register for that. We're again having Tracy Hawkins, the safety lady, come and speak to us about how to spot, avoid, and remove the dangers of ChatGPT, AI, and deep fakes in real estate. So you won't want to miss that. And it's free, so go ahead and register for that already. But in any case, I want to say mahalo to John for all that he's done for us today. We will be sending out the recording to everyone probably at the end of the day or maybe tomorrow, and John is going to share with us some resources, so I'll attach all of that with the email that's going out. You folks have a wonderful day, and we'll see you the next time. Aloha.
Thank you, Crystal. And I think Michael said he had problem ordering the book, which I just put that up. But if you do, just send me an email and I can help out with that.
Okay,
Okay,
wonderful.
thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
John.